Hello guys there, welcome back to another Black Ops 4 video. Today we're looking at how to get revenge medals easily for gold, diamond and dark matter camo. Now I put a ton of tips into today's video, so if you guys find it useful, feel free to leave a like, it will really help me out, and also make sure to subscribe for more tip videos in Call of Duty. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so I thought we'd start off by actually talking about what a revenge medal actually is. So a revenge medal is a medal that you earn by killing the enemy that killed you last in your next life when you respawn. Make sure you stay to the end of the video because I've got lots of awesome tips at the end. And if there's a specific part of the video you want, I'll have some timestamps in the description, so check that out if you need. So I think the next thing to do is clear up a common misconception that a lot of people have in this game, and that's that when you're going for revenge medals, the enemy that killed you last, i.e. the person you need to kill next to get the revenge medal, a lot of people think that that enemy can't die. So once they kill you, you die, you come back, respawn. A lot of people think that, oh, you've got to kill that enemy before someone else does. But that doesn't matter at all. That's not true. It's simply untrue, because that enemy in fact can die as many times as possible and it still counts. All that matters is that you kill them in your next life. As soon as you die to someone else, they become the new enemy you need to hunt down, and so on and so forth. And next up obviously is which weapons is it for. So in terms of diamond, gold and dark matter, you need to get the revenge medals for submachine guns, light machine guns, shotguns, and then also combat knife and any DLC melee weapons. So you need to get 10 revenge medals for the SMGs, LMGs and shotguns, and as a caveat, the combat knives and all melee weapons, you only need to get 5 instead of 10 for them. Alright, so in terms of game modes, which game mode is best? So, in my opinion, there's a couple of game modes which I think would be really good. So, first of all, TDM is a classic one, Team Deathmatch. It's good because generally players are less, sweaty, they're tryharding less. In general, the game will be a bit easier, so you'll be able to kill enemies easier. And because it is TDM, you've got less enemies, and there are less enemies killing your enemy. So it actually, in terms of stats, makes it a little bit easier. So game modes like TDM and then also Kill Confirmed are good, but I think the problem is that sometimes a lot of the enemies kind of group together, don't they? So like the enemy team, a lot of them group together, and it makes it more difficult to pick out your enemy. So that's why I like free-for-all, because, you know, everyone kills everyone. And I think more importantly about free-for-all, there are more enemies, but I often find that you will spawn much closer, more often, to the enemy you need to kill than you do in the other game modes. Hardcore can be good, but I actually think core is fine for this challenge. Now in terms of maps, it doesn't really matter which ones you go on, but I generally would suggest to vote for the smaller maps. If there's a map you're really good on as well, that's obviously a good thing as well, so just keep that in mind. Nuketown could be a good one as well, because it's small and you get lots of kills, so you often kill people and then die and then kill people again. Definitely would recommend that one. Okay, so next up, what class setups would I recommend? So in general, there's some good perks that I'd suggest, so things like Tracker, where you see the enemy footsteps, Dead Silence, where you move around more quietly and then you resist detection by the acoustic sensor. Also Gung Ho can be good because you recover faster after sprinting, and Lightweight just because you move faster, you can get towards the enemy faster. And also Tactical Mask as well, you're resistant to a lot of things, so you're less likely to die or take damage, which is good. In terms of gear, I like the Equipment Charge and Acoustic Sensor. These are my two favourite ones for this, and I'm going to be suggesting some example classes for each type of weapon. So for the SMG, I'm taking the Cordite for example, and on it I put the Elo Sight, Extended Mags, Grip and Rapid Fire. Those are the attachments I used, and obviously I needed wildcards for that. In terms of gear, I used the Acoustic Sensor, and for perks, I used Tactical Mask in perk 1, Lightweight in perk 2 and Tracker in perk 3. Obviously Lightweight to run there faster, Tracker to find enemy footsteps, which is good, and that along with the acoustic sensor is a really good combination because you can often track where enemies are. It keeps you more on your toes and you know where they are, so you can stay alive longer. But if you roughly know where the enemy is, you're also more likely to find them with those two features, with the Tracker and acoustic sensor, so definitely recommend that. And then obviously Tactical Mask just means you're more immune to a lot of stuff, so you're less likely to die. For the light machine guns, I've gone with the Titan as an example, and on that I've put Reflex Sight, Extended Mags, Quick Draw and Stock as the attachments. And for gear I used the acoustic sensor again, and in perks I used Tactical Mask, Lightweight and Tracker again for the same reasons. So these two are fine, they're pretty standard, not really any problems there. In terms of shotguns, sometimes it won't always be a one-hit kill, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but I've still got a good class, and this is what I'd recommend. So I used the Mog 12, and on that I put the Elo Sights, Long Barrel, Quick Draw, and then I also put on Dragon's Breath, which is the Operator mod, and it gives you incendiary rounds, so you do more damage, and not just in one hit, but after you hit them, they light on fire and it keeps doing a little bit of damage on them. So if the more damage you do, the easier it is to kill them. So although you do need 3 points for this, 1 for the wild card and then 2 for the attachment. So if you don't want to use that, that's fair enough, but I think it is worth it because it makes it more likely for you to kill them in one shot rather than 2 or 3. For the gear, I used acoustic sensor, and for the perks, I used nothing in perk 1. I used lightweight in perk 2 and tracker in perk 3, again for the same reasons. Okay, now finally, the knife / DLC melee weapons. So these are slightly more difficult, but the good thing is you get a lot more points because you don't have to put any attachments on. Okay, so obviously you want the combat knife, and alongside that you want acoustic sensor as the gear. You want 2 concussion grenades as equipment. That's good for 2 reasons. One, if you throw it around a corner or in a rough area where you think there could be an enemy, it will throw up a hit marker if there's someone there, which tells you, to watch out and to get ready for a fight. At the same time as that, obviously, it also stuns the enemy, so it makes it more difficult for them to fight you, and it's easier to come along and just stab them. And then for perks, I used Tactical Mask in perk 1, Lightweight in perk 2, and for perk 3, you think I'm going to say Tracker? You're wrong. I'm going to say Tracker and Dead Silence. Dead Silence is good. You're more stealthy because, like I say, you're not picked up by anyone else's acoustic sensor, and you move quietly, which is good. So definitely with this knife class, you want to be a bit more stealthy, take sort of the outer routes, because obviously other people have got ballistic weapons, you've only got a knife, so play it a bit more careful with that class. Okay, so very quickly, the specialist I recommend is Recon, because the sensor dart, you earn a lot and it lets you see enemies in that area, and then the vision pulse you get, the ability, allows you to see enemies through walls across the whole map. So if you know where an enemy is, you're much better to find him using this technique. So save the vision pulse until you need to find an enemy, and then use it if you need it. For Scorestreaks, it really doesn't matter what you pick. Generally, it's better to go for non-lethal stuff because that takes away from the kills, so it doesn't really matter, but I suggest using a UAV and something else. Normally I go for a UAV, counter UAV and care package, but it's up to you. Okay, now on to arguably the most important part of the video, the tips. So my first one is really, I would honestly suggest to try and focus on the other challenges first. So don't focus on getting these revenge medals. Why do I say that? Because they quite easily overlap with other challenges. And often I found in Call of Duty that when you're trying to go for a challenge, it kind of makes it more difficult because you're stressing to go and do that one. Whereas if you do something else or you take mind off it, it's much easier to kind of get that done, and then in the background you will probably also be earning these revenge medals. They're more common than you think, but often when you try and go for them, it seems difficult. So, like I say, try and focus on other challenges, and they'll often come, and then what I do is I'd come back to this at the end, and if you still need to get any, then you can do it. Now, when you're in the match, you often want to get into the head of the enemy player that you're trying to take down. So, you've got to think like them, okay? So, for example, you want to look at their movement, what are their tactics, where are they going. You could often pick up a player's behavior based on if you come across them once or twice in the match, and these next tips will kind of make that easier. So for example, when they kill you, you want to pay attention to the kill cam, and this is why it's good for core, because obviously in hardcore you can't see the kill cam. So when you pay attention to the kill cam and also the kill feed in the bottom left hand corner, you get quite a lot of information. You can get what specialist they were using, you can get their gamer tag, you can get their loadout and their kind of behavior, their movement. Now why that's good is because you need to actually be aware of who you need to take down. So sometimes if you just kind of get killed by an enemy, you might not even pay attention to who it is, then you're none the wiser of who to kill. Whereas if you know what specialist they are, the chances are they're going to stay that specialist. And so let's just say it was, I don't know, Crash, but he had a funny outfit on that you could easily distinguish. You know, if you see that at all, or you see any abilities being used, you know where to look. Do you know what I mean? So for example, if I saw someone using Torque as a specialist, which I did in one of the gameplays, I don't know if you'll see it on screen, I'll try and put it up. Quite commonly I came across someone using Torque. The thing about Torque, you know that if they've used them, generally they're going to be more campy, they're going to stay in a specific area, so I'm thinking, right, okay, they're going to be in the campy spots of the map. More importantly though, if you notice any signs of the razor wire or the microwave shield being used, then you know that they're going to be around there, and so it kind of makes it easier to find them and kill them. So that's why it's quite good. So if I see someone, for example, using Torque with a shield, I'll often go up, get killed by them because I know where to find them, because they'll normally stay in one spot, which is really good. So if you can see any Torques, hopefully luck is on your side. go and track them down and get killed by them so you can kill them. So that's quite a good thing. So you want to look at their loadout, look at any clues. You're kind of being a detective at this point and finding what can I find out about them and how can I use that to predict how they're going to behave, where they're going to go, that kind of thing. So that brings me to my final point, which is try and follow them. So if they killed you while they were running through a building, so for example, I think on one of the matches I was on firing range and there's a hut to the side next to a firing range on the map. Firing range, I know, bit of Inception, but I think there was a hut next to the firing range. Quite a few times I got killed by someone near there. So if they killed me while they were running through the door and running through that hut, then I think to myself, okay, so they're running through the hut, likelihood is that they're coming out the other side and they're going towards the other side of the map. And so if you use your logic of the map and you kind of have got a good understanding of the map and the layout and everything, you can kind of use your knowledge and say, well, okay, if I know if he's running in this direction, I can kind of follow him round to the other side and hopefully kind of meet him there and kill him. And obviously he's none the wiser, you're going to try and meet him there. So things like that, just kind of predict where they're going to go, how they're going to behave, and you can often catch them off guard because they're not expecting it. So definitely that's what I recommend. I'm sure you'll have no problem with this challenge. If you're still stuck, give me a shout in the comment section, and if you've got any other tips which I haven't thought of, it's quite possible, then be sure to leave them down below so that we can share them for everyone else. But thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and why not subscribe, as it really helps me out, and it means you can see more of my challenge videos. So, cheers for watching guys, I'll see you all on the next video.